Hey guys, those back pages here. Thanks for tuning in. Tonight's video, we're going to talk a little bit about some hobby terminology when it comes in regards to grading. There's a few topics that I feel open to discussion. In front of you, you see my Jeter SP rookie card collection in a 7, an 8, and a 7. Very happy to own these. The 8 in the middle was re-slabbed at the show this year. What that means is it was in an old PSA 8 case, and I thought the card would look better just giving it a new jacket, a new home, new slab. The newer slab, the Lighthouse slab. I'm a big fan of the Lighthouse flip. This is called the flip. Contains the card information, the card number, the assigned grade. That's the flip. That's what the back of the flip looks like now. It's got the QR code, barcode, and serial number. That's from the front. It's more of a security measure than in the past. This is a very old slab. Pretty hollow on the front. You can see the back is just has the metallic on it. PSA on the back. These are the ones that are more prone to counterfeiting. This one is in the middle. It's got the PSA hologram on there. The back has a little more fancy prismatic form to it. So that is what's called a re-holder. Just looks better in my opinion than the Lighthouse holder in the middle. Next up is a discussion about bumps, grade bumps. If you buy a graded card and you get it in, or if you submit a card yourself and you get it back and you're not satisfied with the grade, you think it's undergraded, you think maybe they missed something, maybe they're having a bad day, whatever the case may be, you can resubmit it and have it checked again. You can crack it out and do it yourself. I've never been a crack out person. A couple years ago, 4 or 5 years ago now, I was in the market for a Bird Magic rookie in a PSA 7 centered, and I had a gentleman contact me, said he had one, and he had submitted it himself, and it was centered, and he felt it was undergraded when he submitted it, but he's willing to sell it to me for X amount of dollars, which at the time was fairly high for a 7, but he showed me some scans, and this was the card, and there's a scratch on the case. That thing on Dr. J's leg is a reflection from the scratch on the case. It's not on the card. But I was very impressed with this card. It doesn't have this stereotypical black line that you see under Magic Johnson's name here. If you do enough research on this card, you know what I mean. There's very minimal snow. The black backgrounds here are very, very subject to scuffing, because this card is, 38 years old. So when you open these, I don't need to go over all that stuff. But anyway, so I got it in, and it was a 7. And I agreed with the guy that I felt it was undergraded. So I submitted it to PSA and said, hey, please give this a review. If you feel it's bumpable, in a grade, then please do so. If not, leave it in the case as is. So there's really no way to lose on that. So they agreed with me, and it came back an 8. So I felt that was accurately graded. It's a really clean card. It's not a 9, but it's certainly not a 7. So very, very happy to own this. So that's a sub bump, like a grade bump review. Next up is a what I did with a lot of my trouts that I featured in one of my earlier episodes. Years and years ago, I'm going on 5 years ago now, that I picked up my trouts. And they, well, obviously I don't have them in BGS form anymore because they're in PSA 10 form now, but they look like this Curry rookie. I bought this Curry rookie just before they started winning, so it was relatively cheap in the grand scheme of things. You can see all the subgrades are 9.5 all the way across the board. This card is numbered to 999. It's number 86 of 999. It's a tough card. But, so yeah, I missed the boat. This is Windows, and I'll explain that on the next card. So at the time, trout wasn't very popular value-wise, so it was easy to say, hey, this, I'll use Curry, for example. This Curry, I would submit it for a crossover attempt, and that's what's considered a crossover attempt. And minimum grade that I would accept would be a 10, a PSA 10. So if PSA agreed with me that this is a gem mint card, in their opinion, then it would come back in a PSA 10 slab. Now, I was able to do this successfully. I didn't try it with the Curry because there's a price threshold that you can, for the different level of submitting. So it was, at the time, the price threshold was lower than it is now. Now I could try it, and I probably will at some point. But, so this would be a crossover, where you say, hey, I want it, you know, if it's not a 10, if PSA looked this over and said it wasn't a 10, they would send it to me back in this case as is. They would give it back to me already. It would stay in a BGS case, because this BGS 9.5 is better than a PSA 9. Now, as far as non-gem mint cards go, this is my Tom Brady rookie, autograph rookie from 2000. It's a beautiful card. I think it's accurately graded, 8.5. It's got 8 on corners. It's got a 10 auto grade, which is pretty good. Not the easiest thing on his cards. I mean, you gotta remember this card is almost 19 years old. At this point of the stage, at this stage of the game, I would not buy this card raw. It's just, there's a lot of counterfeits out there. There's ways to look that up online. I bought this 6 years ago for a fraction of what it's worth now. Just works out that way sometimes. It's that way, if you collect, then you collect. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But you have to enjoy what you're collecting. So this card would probably run me about $300 just to try to cross it over, even to an 8. And at this point, that would be a good percentage of what I actually paid for the card, so I'll just leave it as is. It's not a PSA 9. It might not even be a PSA 8, because it got 8 for corners, and BGS tends to be fairly lenient on corners, and PSA is lenient on centering. Anyway, we're hitting the 10-minute mark here, so I'm going to cut this short. So this would be a crossover attempt with, actually, if I were to do this, I would do a crossover attempt with any grade. I would just, you know, maybe I don't know if I'd want a 7. It's a tough call. But anyway, so there's a little, just a not so short video about different grading terminologies and strategies and such. And just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. I appreciate your knowledge. I appreciate you sharing your knowledge. As always, you matter. You are important. Please keep making content, keep making videos, enjoy yourself, enjoy what you're collecting. That is so important. And as always, keep collecting.